Hello and good evening to everyone who is watching this stream. I am Pagal Raza Jr. Here to present to you the opening round of Season 16, Tier 6. The first race of the season will be at the circuit of Catalunya without the chicane. So yeah, I think let's just wait for a couple of minutes so that people can join in, and then we'll start. Hi, Tap. Hi, Simba. Good evening. Hello, welcome. Simba says the Ferrari on pole position sure looks like it will get an ideal start. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Before we get into the grid itself, I think. Sorry, before we get into the race itself, rather, we should go through the grid once. To introduce you to the drivers that you'll be seeing all season. So in P15 we have Ayrton Jenna, and I must admit that's a very creative name. In the AMG Mercedes from 2020, that's a very nice, pretty livery it has as well. Qualified here in the bottom. Well, sometimes it's just not your day. It's his second season, or at least he was in the previous season, and his teammate was Boyan. And they have continued that partnership here into season 16. Then the next team that we have, let's take a look at Papajani. Papajani is in the Gen X, teammates with Rico, who I don't think is racing tonight. I'm not quite sure. I think he's not racing tonight. But yeah, so Papajani qualifying in P14 for the opening round. Next, we have the two Aston Martins, the two teammates, Nico and Inorganic in P13 and P12. Both of them were in, or rather, Nico was in Tier 6 last season, and he was teammates with Tyler Jaden. Tyler Jaden, who's also in the tier, who is in 9th place. We'll come to that in a moment. So the two Astons not having a very good showing, and in 12th and 13th, and well, Nico's Aston donning the colors of Aston Villa. Actually, I think both of them might have that. Yeah, I think both of them are sporting Aston Villa colors and the badge, which is very impressive. P11, we have Gump in the Porsche. On debut, as far as I'm told, in the Porsche 911. In P10, we have Ryu's beer. I might be really butchering that, and I'm very sorry about it. I'll just say reuse, and if I am wrong, I will. Well, we'll correct it in the next race. Reuse. Anyway, so reuse is teammates with Beaumont, uh, who is in P6. Both of them in the Subaru BRZ. Reuse had joined late last season. This is his first full-time season, as I understand it. Then we have tireless Jaden and his teammate Fudo. Both of them in the R8 with this the old not that old, the Haas livery with the rich energy, black and gold, in P9 and P8. Then we have Boyan, who is we've already been through Boyan and Airtown Jenna. In the Merc, P7 for Boyan, good qualifying. Then we have Beaumont, Michel Beaumont, also in the BRZ. Fifth place is Blade Runner, who is teammates with Gabo. I don't think Gabo is here either. In the Renault, is with the Coca-Cola livery. Yeah, the Renault, I think in the previous season was quite a reliable car, a very stable car, although it had its drawbacks. So let's see how Blade Runner can do here. And then up in the front, we have two Lamborghinis and two Ferraris. Let's start with the two emergency service Lamborghinis, with the two Dutchmen. One policeman, one ambulance. And the two Ferraris driven by the two Indian guys, Simba and Abhi. So Denos in the lead Lamborghini starting from P2, and Simba in the lead Ferrari starting P1. Already looking like quite an interesting championship. So yeah, I think that's the rundown of the grid. Simba grabbing pole on his ALR full-time debut. And yeah, I think that's good enough. Let's start. And 5 lights, and lights are out, and oh wow, okay, Simba's had a terrible start. The other Ferrari really jumped him. You can see the two Ferraris really generally the Ferraris are supposed to launch off well, but didn't work out so well for Simba, but still holding second place. IJF trying to go down the inside, but just didn't have enough room. Simba looking to try and get back at Abhi, as both of them are going through turn 4. Beaumont moves up a place, but I think it's the other Lamborghini who's had a really big problem of the start, who's dropped out of the top 8. That would be Danos. So let's have a rundown of the grid. Abhi leads from Simba, IJF in 3rd, Michel Beaumont in 4th, Blade Runner holding position in 5th. Then Sleepy Fudo is in 6th, having jumped a few spots. Nico having a good start as well, starting from I think it was P13 to P7. Boyan, he's lost a place. Denos, the big loser from that start. Papayani also with a good start, as is Airtown Jenna. Both of them picking up a few places. Jaden having he had a bad start and that just got worse there, unfortunately for him. Ryu's also, I think he started P10, lost a couple of places, and same with Gum. Gum also looks like he has had some sort of an incident here. So, okay. Inorganic bits, okay, that's what I saw. Okay. So inorganic is in the pits. So let's go off the field. Let's see if there are some close battles going on. Danos will want to try and get back to the front. He definitely has the pace. He's already made up a place after he was in 9th place when we saw him on our run through, and now looking to put pressure on Nico. Let's see if he can make a move down the inside here on turn 5. It's a 9-lap race, so it should be flat out all the way to the end. Oh, yes, yellow flags. Oh, that's the Renault. That's the Renault was spun. Blade Runner. Well, I don't know if it was a spin or if something else had caused that, but yeah, it looks it's dropped him quite a long way to the back. Organic is really struggling here. Anyway, let's come back to the front. Simba is still chasing Abi. Abi is got the barely decent lead here, but the two Ferraris really pulling away from the rest of the pack. Well, I say that, but Michel has put in the fastest lap of the race in the Subaru. Maybe he's going to catch and pass the. Let's see, maybe he can catch them, and that should be interesting to see. Sleepy's made his way up to P4 as IJF has dropped down a place as well. Definitely a bold strategy from Inorganic. I'm not sure why he fit. Yeah. So okay, let's take the suggestion from Tab. Let's go back and take a look at what happened with Blade Runner, who was in P4. Let's have a look. Yeah. Okay. So he's so far so good. He's holding the position on. And as he turns in for turn 6, oh, he puts one wheel too much. Rather, he dips that wheel too much, gets a lot of wheel spin and spins out, unfortunately. Promotes IJF back up to 4th. Okay. And let's see if he made up. Okay, we've already been through this. Okay. So let's come back to this where we were. So Sleepy and IJF battling for 4th. IJF has been was in front for the replay that we just saw. Let's see if can defend the position. He did make the pass down the back straight, and well, for Sleepy, looks like he's got a good exit from turn 10, maybe the straight. Sorry, turn 9. And he's built up a decent enough gap that he didn't have to be worried about anybody, or rather, IJF diving down the inside. At the hairpin. And I think one of the things is after sort of the hairpin at turn 10, there's very little opportunity to pass all the way to the end of the lap even, unless the car in front really makes a mistake somewhere, because there's no serious braking zone. Even turn 1, for that matter, is not a very easy pass to make unless you've got some advantage in the straight line. The braking zone is not very heavy, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see if IJF can make a pass on does so, how that pass comes about. But at the moment, it doesn't look like it. In fact, Sleepy may have pulled a little bit of a gap in the last lap. Perhaps the dirty air is having its effect. So let's go a little bit further back. Denos, I see, has made his way up to P6. Nico did have a penalty on the lap prior to this. Perhaps that helped him make up that position. Nico finds himself in P7. Papayani makes up another place, having started in P14. It's a good drive from him for them to be in P8. Views also making a good recovery drive after what was pretty not a terrible start, but it was definitely not great. They did end up losing a few positions. Back up to P9 and P2 for the reverse grid start. Blade Runner, despite the spin, they have a half-second penalty, but holding the reverse grid pole at the moment. If they can create enough of a gap to get on Jenna in 11th and serve the penalty and still be ahead, then that would be quite an advantage. Of course, Blade Runner did qualify in 5th place, so the pace is of course there. But yeah, that gap seems to be going up. In fact, Gum has made a move on Ayrton Senna for P11. Ayrton Senna thought about the dive into turn 5, but it just did not work out in the end. And Gum now pulling away from Senna and towards Blade Runner. This would be quite a crucial move if Gum can make it, because the difference between points, it's just the 1 point, but it's the starting position in the next race which would be extremely crucial. The two Mercs finding themselves having a tough time in P12 and P13. Jaden also, after that mistake on the opening lap in P14, inorganic with the pit stop in 15. Let's come back to the front of the grid, where it seems like he's holding that gap to about a second, and Simba is trying to catch him. It's a tight battle in the top 3. Judging by the pace of Simba, is doing 42.9, 42.7, 42 flat. Michel Beaumont has the 2 quickest laps, 2:42. Is this better? Is my voice better now? I hope. So. Yeah, coming back to the race, Michel Beaumont does have the two of the fastest laps, but as we see, he was going wide, but Simba not able to take advantage of that, and yeah, the dirty air once again not allowing Simba to follow as closely, and just as Michel has a half-second penalty from going wide at the final turn. Simba was flashing hard. That flashing is going on quite a bit. I'm not sure what the purpose is, but I'm not sure if he's upset about something. Is Simba, but with that moment of the last corner, I think the top 3 have spread out. Michel, of course, with a half-second penalty as well, will fall back a little bit. Let's take a look. Meanwhile, the top three really have pulled away from the rest of the pack. Sleepy in P4, well, he's also made a decent-sized gap on IJF in P5. Yeah, fourth and fifth also quite a way away from the battle for P6, as it would seem. Ryu's, Nico, and Blade Runner, and Gum, actually, all four of them fighting hard for this spot. So Tap says that it's likely controller flashing, as the default button is easy to press. That might be the cause of that. As Nico, I think, goes a little bit too wide, Blade Runner gets a very nice exit, and oh, there's a little bit of contact there. But Nico does a good job of holding the inside line, and the Blade Runner has to give up that position, and that compromises his exit through turn 10, and that's the mistake I was talking about. That's sort of gifted Gump the position, and wow, he makes a dive down Nico's down the inside of Nico and picks up P7 as well, and that also allows Blade Runner to go through. Nico now looking at P9, with Boyan having made his way back up to P10, and reverse grid pole as it would stand currently. Jaden in 11th, decent recovery, it must be said, after sort of having spun on the first lap and having lost so much time. But unfortunately, I'm not sure it will amount to much. Papayani in P12, Ayrton Senna in 13th, as we have a spin. Oh, poor Jaden. Just as that's the commentator's curse, I think. Yeah, unfortunately for Jaden, now having half spun and losing that position to Papayani. And then we have Ayrton Senna and Inorganic. Somebody's quit, I think. Looks that way, because we started with 15 and now we don't have 15. Anyway, coming back to the front of the field as they round the final corner and on to the final lap. Two Ferraris still leading the race, and Michel, even after that half-second penalty, is not as far behind as I would have thought. Actually, on second glance, I take that back. It is further than I thought it was. So Abhi now, all he has to do is just hold the position, drive a calm, decent final lap, I think, to get the victory. Simba also, very good drive from the two Ferraris, and Michel, very few mistakes, if any, from the three of them. Of course, that last corner, which was caught, would not have helped Simba or Michel, but well, sometimes it just hurts that way. Michel says, I was saving tires all race. I think that the freshness of them let me make a kind of a comeback. Yeah, it looks that way. Your tires are definitely better than Simba's, but Abhi's tires are quite a lot better, probably from driving in all that clean air. Any battles going on in the back just before we end? Well, nothing worth it. Let's the final corner for Abhi, who will take the opening sprint win with a close finish between Simba and Michel. Simba beating out Michel by really not by much, just few car lengths, if anything. A fantastic fight by the three of them. Sleepy comes home in P4, IJF in P5, and the top 5 really were quite a way clear of P6. Ryu's also fantastic drive after what was a pretty terrible opening lap, must be said. Blade Runner finishes in P7, and after that's a pretty impressive comeback as well. Boyan finishes P8. Gum must have made a mistake somewhere. They were doing quite well. P9 for them, and Nico will be on reverse grid pole. Jaden P11 despite all that. Papayani P12. Inorganic, despite the pit stop, finally managed to make up one position in P13. And Airtown Jenna will round out this race. So maximum points for the two Ferrari lads, but the fastest lap was belonged to Michel. It sets up a very interesting fight going into the feature race, because the Ferraris will definitely be quick off the line, but Michel's shown that his pace was quite impressive. So let's take a look how it goes. Also, another thing, it must be said that it was, of course, for most of the duration that we saw, it was a pretty clean drive from all three of them on track. There wasn't any contact or incidents to report as such from the three of them. So yeah, great drive. And yeah, we move on to the feature race, where it is reverse grid. Okay, I'll try my best not to see the race result. Oh, okay. So Nico will start on pole for the feature race, 23 laps. Gum P2, Boyan P3, Blade Runner in P4, who was also P4 in the sprint. So definitely can make use of a good start if they can have it. Rius P5, IGF in P6, Sleepy P7, Michel in P8, Simba P9, and Abhi P10. Let's just take a quick glance at their tires as well. I forgot to do that on the opening pass through. So Nico's on hards, Gumb on hards, Boyan on mediums. It's a brave call in the Merc, I must admit. Blade Runner also on mediums, Ryu's on mediums, IJF on mediums, Furo on hards, Michel on mediums, Simba on mediums, and Abhi on mediums as well. Abhi on hards. And Jaden in P11 starting on hards as well. Papayani on mediums, Inorganic on hards, Jenna on hards, and it was Danos who must have disconnected at some point in the race. They definitely had the pace, but yeah, sometimes things don't go your way. Mediums for Danos. And in this season, the rules have been updated. I think 2 compounds are required, but there was some discrepancy regarding that in some explicit wording. Or something that was not explicitly mentioned in the rules, and yeah, I'll leave it at that. So let's go from here, and Nico, who will be okay from Gum, but the first real point of the first real battle should come between P2 and P3, Boyan on one step better tires. And Boyan and Blade Runner really should look to clear the top 2 and drive away. Apparently, okay, so it wasn't in the rule book. I think it was supposed to be there. Right. So rule book was not updated in time, and any medium results will stand. Okay, so that's the status. And yeah, immediately we can see the Gum did go wide, but Boyan also sort of made a mistake, allowing Blade Runner to go through. IJF holding in P5, Rius in P6. Well, one of the Ferraris, yeah, it was Abhi who's had some sort of a mistake and finds himself in P11. Jaden makes up a couple of places as well on the start. Simba in P8 making a pass on Rius for P7. His teammate Michel is in P6 and probably the best out of the top 3. And sort of almost quite amazingly, Boyan goes wide in front of him and IJF has a half a second penalty. Michel's also picked up a penalty and IJF's gone wide. Oh, there's something happened at the back. I think we have to see that. Let's take a look at this one a little closely from Simba's hood. So Michel goes wide. I think all 3 of them went deeper. There was some contact which led to IJF leaving the track and into the gravel. Simba made full use of that advantage. Okay, I want to take one more look at this from IJF. Ooh, I'm not sure that's a very nice place to park on the exit of that curb. Very, very lucky not to have had any kind of a bigger impact. I think Papayani may have caught him in the exit, but whoa, yeah, there's damage there. So surprising. Well, I think the region could have been better. Anyway, that move, that sequence does benefit Abhi. He gains a couple of positions off the back of that. Michel now has a penalty, and Rius unfortunately really not able to make progress. He's sort of falling. They're sort of falling in the wrong direction. Jaden moves up to P7, having started in 11. Boyan, even on better tires, also not able to make good on a good starting place. But the other person at the start who had mediums is Blade Runner, and they're putting pressure on Nico, who has a 1.5 second penalty. So this is quite a nice position for Blade Runner to be in. Unfortunately for Nico, it looks like they're going to face quite a lot of penalty. Gum also going wide, allowing Simba to go through. And Nico's penalty means that Simba finds himself... Nico's penalty means that they're in P4, having lost a position also to Gum. Michel also serving the penalty, only half second for that, but it didn't allow them to pass Nico earlier, but Nico made a mistake in the second to last corner. So P4 now for Michel, who is... The Subaru really is quite a beast through the corners, but I do think it was quite underpowered last season in comparison to most of the grids, so it could be held sort of hostage to other cars. Anything that is good in the straight line and not good in the corners, it could hold the BRZ. But Michel is on a charge here to gain back the time they lost because of that penalty, and a fantastic maneuver all the way around the outside of turn 4. BRZ is meta for this track, and that was a really, really good pass around the outside of turn 4, holding the inside line on Gum, and fair play from Gum to for not making any contact going through there. Meanwhile, up at the front, Simba looks like they're catching up to Blade Runner. Both of them on the medium tires with they almost look like teammates. How similar the color is from the. It's only when I sort of put a little bit of my focus that I realized they're not. But yeah, the two of them are pulling away a little bit, or they were until Michel was sort of unleashed from being behind traffic. Now Michel also in free air and doing slightly better on tires, it must be said, than the front two. Anyways, going backwards, Nico, who started on pole, finds himself in P5 on the hards. Really, I think Nico's not liking the hard tires on this car because there's quite a lot of slipping and sliding mid-corner through the faster corners. So Aston not liking this tire and track combination, must be said. On the other hand, I was about to say Jaden was looking good, but that looks like some sort of incident. Let's go back and take a look at what happened there. There was definitely some contact between Jaden and Ryu's. Let's have a look. So Ryu's probably will be able to take a lot more speed than the pair of them on better tires, but well, I don't think there was any contact there. I think it was just a spin, putting the power down too early almost. Let's see one more time. Yeah, being on the grass, coming back on the racing line, and yeah, that's what caused it. I thought, looking at the rear damage, that it might have been some contact might have been involved, but my apologies to Ryu's. No, there's no contact there. So the Subarus find themselves in quite decent position, must be said, 3rd and 6th. The two Ferraris in 2nd and 7th. Let's see how Abhi has been doing on the hard tires. So it's sort of expected that the medium runners will pull out some sort of a gap, and they have, it must be said. In any case, Boyan on the mediums, also sliding there. I think it must be said, the slightly better tire, if anything, for this feature race. Meanwhile, Ryu's is going for move in front on Nico, but you can just see the BRZ is got gobbled up around the straights by the Aston and the Ferrari. Whoa, that's a dive down the inside. Bit of contact there from Abhi. Not certain I approve of the move, but well, he makes up the position, but maybe a little bit more care could have been given there. Well, okay. Ryu's made some contact with Nico, but did not go through. Yeah. So, meanwhile, that contact at turn 4 between Ryu's and Nico has allowed Abhi to pull out quite a bit of a gap on the pair of them, as Boyan is just sort of holding station behind these guys. And you can see how much better the grip is for Ryu's. Ryu's goes in the back of Nico again. I think in the same line. I wonder if he has damage. No, they do not. No damage for Ryu's. And that's allowed Denos, who started in dead last, to catch up all the way to these guys who are battling for P6. Boyan, Boyan goes for a half spin. Well, it's still pointing in the right direction, so not bad, I suppose. Allows Danos to get a position for free, really. But with that half-second penalty, it's unlikely that they'll be able to keep it unless gap goes upwards. Ryu's also on the medium tires, as are the two guys behind him, but Nico in P6 now sort of looks like they've been able to rest the slide that having started in P1, and just as I say that, dips the wheel on the grass, and now once again under threat from Ryu's. Going through turn 4, Ryu's trying to make a move, going around the outside of the Aston Martin. Can he make it stick? No. Nico blocks him off. Well defended there to not allow the inside line for turn 5, and Ryu's goes down, tries to follow him through, but dips the wheel on the grass, has a half spin, and there's the end of that particular attacking chance. But it might come, another chance might come quite soon, as Nico really is struggling a little bit, and with each passing lap it becomes even more evident because the tyre wear is starting to creep in. Ryu's should be pressuring this guy soon, because firstly the difference in tyres, and with the Biaggi being so much fun to handle on in the corners, this is an exciting battle to see how Ryu's will if they can get past, and how they can get past. See, once again they're sort of bumper to bumper at the starting of the straight, but Nico pulls out, well, this time not so much of a gap. Now I think it will be really difficult, because Ryu's will be on the bumper going into turn 3, takes the wider entry compared to Nico, who's defending the inside. Ryu's should have a better exit, but can they make it stick? Can they make it count? No, Nico still holds on to P6, and now Danos is coming into the fight, and Danos makes use of Ryu's poor exit, and now that drops Ryu's down to P8, Danos in P7. Now Bojan is attacking Ryu's for P8. Ryu's, who has gone from attacking Nico to P6, now defending for his 8th position. Meanwhile, that small slip up and those couple of overtakes has allowed some breathing room for Nico, who has pulled out a decent advantage over GSR Danos, but again Danos on the medium tires, and Nico goes wide. Nico has gone wide. That should be a penalty of some description. Maybe not. Maybe not. Got away with that one, but the mistake in itself cost quite a bit of time, and now we see the Lamborghini is right there, and he goes down the inside of Nico, who left the door open, and Danos gladly accepted it, and he clears the two guys who are fighting right in front of him. Both of them are now behind, and that has compromised Nico's exit to a point where even Ryu's is going to be down the inside of turn 1. Can he make this pass stick? But somehow I get the sensation that Ryu's is not on the as confident on the brakes as Nico is. Oh, just as I say that, Nico has got a 1 second penalty, which he will have to serve at after turn 9, and that will almost certainly lose the two positions, the two guys who are closing in, who've been there for so long. They'll be quite happy to see. Oh, Nico dips another wheel on the grass, but once again, that's Ryu's is not able to make use take advantage of that, and now Bojan and Ryu's going side by side. Ryu's holds on the outside line. Bojan not able to make the inside line count there, but that's cost both of them quite a lot of time compared to Nico, but surely I think Rius gets the pass done on Nico. Boyan unable to, you see Nico even on the hardened compound tire is able to like gain quite a bit of distance on the brakes and goes down the inside. But is not able to make the overtake there. Rius holding his line, little bit of contact there. Perhaps that may be the reason why Nico did not complete the overtake, but it has compromised Nico's exit quite a bit, and now Nico finds himself under attack from Boyan, but he really has done a number on these guys. Whoa! There was a little bit of contact there. Let me take a quick look at that. Whether there was door barging or was there more to it, because Boyan down the inside. Does Nico just go clean on the outside of Boyan, or? Yeah, Boyan just bogs down on the inside and Nico takes complete advantage of that. That's quite a smart decision in a way. Boyan just not able to accelerate off, and now the other Lamborghini IJF finds themselves. And as I look up the grid, I see that Simba is taking the lead from Blade Runner. In fact, Michelle has also passed Blade Runner. Let me quickly go back. That was such an involved battle that we missed what happened there. Let's take a quick look at this battle. This is lap 7. Let's take a quick look here, and so going through turn 5, Simba still flashing those lights. I think they might not be aware. Oh, Blade Runner I think made some sort of mistake, and Simba taking complete advantage, going around the outside of turn 9. Blade Runner on the inside, very compromised and not able to take the speed, but will they be able to outbrake Simba? No, doesn't look like it. Simba left the room on the inside, but did not work out for Blade Runner. Blade Runner now goes wide at, and Michelle picks up P2. I think that is that's the effect of the tire wear, which is quite. I must admit, it's quite surprising because Blade Runner was out in front, and Simba and Michelle were the two guys who were in the dirty air, and somehow both of them have well, slightly better tires if anything. Michelle with the best tires of the three of them, and it's only lap 8, so I wonder how Blade Runner is going to play this out. Perhaps another couple of laps and then 13 laps on the hard tires? I suppose that might be the plan. But 3 laps looks unlikely on those mediums, I must admit. Maybe a 2-stop is brewing here for Blade Runner, and I wonder if it will be quick enough to challenge the top 2. Okay, let's quickly go back to where we were. Right, okay. So I'll quickly run through the grid. Gumb is holding in P4. Blade Runner is beginning to drop back quite a bit. Has not pit yet on the 9th lap. Gumb in P4. Abhi in the second Ferrari in P5. Sort of both of them running decently lonely races. Danos has kept taken good care of those tires, it must be said. In P6, having started last, again that's a really good recovery. Rius finally having cleared Nico. Again, having taken very good care of those tires up to this point. Nico, who's been defending so hard, and despite being on the hard compound tires, loses that pace to Bojan. Whoa! That's an audacious dive, and I think had it not been for Bojan giving the respect there, I think that would have been a collision for sure. But yeah, he made the dive bomb work and still remains in P8. But quite surprisingly, Nico's tires are sort of at par with the medium running guys, so it's in the background we see IJF, who's had a moment of horror, the second moment of horror, it must be said, in this race, having had one earlier in the race as well, unfortunately. Sleepy in P13, and oh, poor Jaden. I seem to be switching to him every time he's they're making a spin. Yeah. Well, Jaden and Fudo having a battle of their own. For P13, IJF in P12. Nico still holding Bojan back. Bojan and Nico, actually they sort of have identical tyre wear as well. See, Danos, I think, is the one you should look out for now, because they are catching Abhi by about 2 seconds a lap, and this looks like it is going to be a pretty tasty battle when it gets there. Meanwhile, Blade Runner has lost another position to Gump, and that one is because of the dead front left tyre, and that's not going to be very fun to drive for Blade Runner. They should really look to pit this lap, because otherwise, yeah, there you go. Blade Runner stops, the first of the pit stoppers after 9 laps. That stop has finally occurred, but that raises a challenge for Blade Runner. Can they really do 14 laps on softs, or sorry, on the hard compound, or will that be a 2-stopper brewing? Rather importantly, will it be quick enough as well? Meanwhile, we see Danos is slowly lost a little bit of time. The couple of really quick laps allowed him to get decently close to the Ferrari in front. And now that gap has been coming down quite precipitously. But Danos is going to start losing tyre wear, and also pretty soon, it must be said, in the dirty air with those tyres, perhaps a pass is possible. But maybe, I wonder if Danos might try an undercut on Abhi, and I wonder if it will work, because depending on the next compound, of course. As we see Simba pits from the lead, I believe, of the race on the medium tyre, having done 10 laps. Michel going on for an 11th lap. Tyres looking decent. I think 1 lap is possible here. Gum going on as well. Abhi going on as well. Danos' tyres are much better in comparison, I think, to Simba. Ryu's also stopping. Nico stops after just 10 laps in the hard tyres. Inorganic carries on. Bojan, meanwhile, Bojan also stops in the meantime. Inorganic has done a much better job of looking after those hard compound tyres on the Aston Martin. As we see the Ferrari of Simba emerging on medium tyres. On a second set of mediums, I think this was probably the controversy in question, since it wasn't mentioned in the rulebook. I think it was a very nice spot, that must be said. You know, you must know what the rules that you are racing against and the rules that are not mentioned as well. So well spotted, and it's well, I mean, it must be said, exploited, but yeah. So that does mean that this is an undercut on Michel, who stops now, but they've definitely given up quite an advantage, and given I wonder how Simba is planning to make these tires last for 13 laps, given that the opening set only lasted actually no, wait, Simba pit on lap 11 at the end of lap 11, so these sets should go to the end then. As Dana spits as well, Abhi carries on for lap number 13, and as does Gumb on the hard compounds. Michel and Simba. Michel comes out in front on the hard compound tires. Simba behind on the mediums. This is going to be a difficult job for Michel if they can hold it for the remainder of this race. 11 laps, it's not going to be an easy job. Simba trying to make the move around the outside. Let's stick with this battle for a moment. Simba trying the switch back. Michel maximizing his exit, going into turn 5, defending the inside line, and keeping Simba behind for now. But you can see the difference that is there in the grip of the two cars. And yeah, there you go, Michel having a bit of a moment there on the exit of turn 8, and Simba draws up alongside and on the inside for turn 9, and that is that. Simba moves ahead, and now it's just a matter of not losing, not making any mistakes, and this really should be a race for Simba to this is now Simba's race to lose, really, with the two guys in front expected to pit sometime soon. Well, Gum pits, but quite amazingly Abhi carries on for yet another lap. So Abhi, I think, not confident in his ability perhaps to make the medium tires last around here, or maybe some sort of miscalculation on that end. In any case, Gum pits, Inorganic as well carrying on for another lap. With the tires there, the fuel's there, but quite possibly the two of them, Abhi and Inorganic, might have missed a trick by not pitting onto the mediums earlier. Sleepy also carries on for another lap, having not stopped. Danos has stopped, as has Blade Runner. Who, if I'm seeing this correctly, has stopped twice? If those lap times are correct, I think that's not right. In any case, yeah, something seems wrong. Anyways, let's jump back to the front of the grid. And now Abhi is 14 laps in, the last of the Abhi and Inorganic, the two guys who haven't pit yet, and Fudo as well in the top 8. Meanwhile, Simba has cleared Michel, and look at that gap. That's definitely a 3, maybe 4 second gap there between Michel and Simba, and it really shows up the difference in grip between these tires. Simba is easily able to do a 44 the previous lap, and Michel with a half-second penalty as well, unfortunately for them. It's 145, and that's really, really tough. As Abhi comes into the pits, Inorganic carrying on for yet another lap. It's a monster stint on the on these hard tires. but I still think it was a matter of perhaps 1 or 2 more laps as Abhi puts on the soft tires quite interestingly. So perhaps that's the trick these guys are going for. Soft tires to the end, but the question now is whether they will last and also whether there is good enough pace to make it work out. Having had a few extra slower laps on the old worn hard tires. Surely I suppose Inorganic is also going for the same strategy, but you can see that that extra few laps has left Abhi behind Gumb as well, where and a bigger gap definitely than those two had, but Denos I think has lost a bit of the edge. We were seeing Denos was closing up to Abhi, but now I think it is Abhi's turn to be on the charge, with Gumb in front and Inorganic expected to pit soon. Blade Runner on the hard tires in P7. Let's go to grid quickly. Nico in P8 on the mediums. Hopefully is feeling much more comfortable after that all that defending in the opening stint. Reus finds themselves behind Nico once again. I suspect Reus would be quite tired of looking at the back of that Aston Martin. Boyan in P10, Papayani in P11 with a penalty to serve well that possibly will promote IJF into P11, Papayani P12. Sleepy in P13, having just pit as well on, again, a pretty monstrous stint. And, well, as Sleepy goes wide there, is a pretty, and IJF, poor IJF on his third trip through the gravel today evening. As let me return quickly to the front of the field as I see Inorganics carried on for yet another lap. This is a pretty amazing stint. 16 laps, so 7 laps after this on soft tires. That's going to be quite a, I mean, if it works out, sure, why not? Anyways, let's stick to this battle for P4 as Abhi is going to be on the tail of Gump on the soft tires on the Ferrari against the mediums on the Porsche. So let's take a look at how Abhi will try and plan it as Gump goes wide, allowing Abhi to come even closer. Abhi going for a slightly wider entry into the corner, trying to make the exit better, and right on the tail of the Porsche. And again, you can see the difference in the grip levels between the medium and the soft as Inorganic finally pits, and Abhi makes a pass for P4, which will soon become P3 down the inside of the final corner. But yeah, and the pass is complete just halfway down the straight. In fact, it's so early that Gump has had enough time to go on the other side and maybe try a dive bomb. No, it doesn't look like it. So that promotes Abhi into P3 on the soft tires and possibly chasing after the front two. That one might be a little bit difficult considering how far in front Michel is. But yeah, definitely, unless any mistakes happen, I think Abhi has got third place all pretty secured, given that Gump is on one step harder tires. Denos on the hards will I think is being caught by Blade Runner. Let's take a look at the last few laps, and yeah, Blade Runner has been catching Denos for the last couple of laps. This looks like this is sort of going to be the next battle brewing up, as Blade Runner will try and make a pass on Denos. Blade Runner, if my memory serves me correctly, pit at the end of lap 9, so it's going to be quite a quite a task, and I would suspect a fairly daunting task to make those hard tires last 15 laps. Perhaps, I mean, having seen an organic pull that off, it might not be so daunting after all, but let's have a look. Definitely the Blade Runner's hard compound tires are in a sort of a temperature window. It seems that about 1 second a lap quicker than the Dutchman in front. Going into turn 1, I wonder if they are going to be close enough to make a move into turn 4, which might be one of the better chances of making an overtake. No, I think they are just a bit too far back at the moment, but definitely catching. But I think one thing is going to be visible is how quickly even the hard tires will degrade in the dirty air here. Blade Runner's tires were looking fairly decent until they got up to the back of Danios, and now that tire is slowly but surely creeping towards the halfway point, the front left tire, which takes a lot of beating around Barcelona, especially with the long right-hander turn 3, turn 4, and even turn 9 and the last couple of turns. A lot of high-speed right-handers here, which drain a lot of life out of the front right tire. Dub says really like that Coca-Cola livery. Yeah, it's a very unique livery and very, very well made, must be said. Abhi says that this is where they were driving without audio and that their controller died. I mean, despite that, I think it's not a bad effort. The strategy looks like it's worked out. As we see, Nico is making a pass on Rius. We'll come back to that in a moment. Rius, who has been staring at the back of that Aston Martin, once again unable to outbrake Nico. And now Nico's on the better tire, but you can see how quickly those mediums are just worn out. Those mediums are finished. Almost certainly Nico will have to pit one more time. And well, let's see. Rius, having stared at the back of the Aston, would be quite relieved to know that they're coming into the pits. Let's come back onto our battle between Blade Runner and Danios. Blade Runner trying to make a move down the inside, but not able to brake late enough against that Huracan. Going into the hairpin. But I think probably the best chance. Oh, as Blade Runner has a spin. I was about to say there's a good chance if they keep close behind to try and make a move into turn 1, but well, no positions lost for Blade Runner there. And with the light damage, the damage should repair itself fairly quickly, but I think that ends the hopes for for P5 there. As Nico pits, which is not a surprise, Rios will be happy to see Nico pit. Inorganic after that monstrous stint of, I think it was 16 laps. Now emerged on the soft compound tires. P9 already. It's very contrasting strategies between the two Astons. One choosing to do 2 stops, the other choosing to do 15 laps on the hard tires. As Ayrton Senna also comes into the pits from P11. Nico emerges on soft tires. Quite amazingly, the two of them, even despite their varying strategies and starting positions, Nico did in fact start on pole. They will finish, it seems, quite close to where they started. Let's stick around with Inorganic as they're trying to attack Boyan, who will be on the hard compound tyre. So let's see how. We've been looking at the people making passes because they're one step on the tire, one step softer tires on the car in the back, but this is going to be 2 steps softer. But something to note is how quickly the soft tires are sort of evaporating almost. I think it's only, so this is the 4th lap, and we see 50% of the front left is already gone. It should, I don't think there's an issue about going to the end on these tires, but will there be enough performance left in the event that Inorganic does catch up to Boyan to make a pass and make it stick? Because even though Boyan might not be doing such great laps, it will still be fairly consistent. Meanwhile, Inorganic's laps will be deteriorating quite quickly after a certain point. So let's see. This looks like it's going to be interesting. Inorganic with the 48.5 on that last lap, having made a mistake or two. Boyan also with a couple of mistakes. So the gap was sort of where it began when it started. Let's just quickly go back to the front of the field. Simba has been almost in a league of his own, of course, taking complete advantage of the missing rule, the rule book, with running a medium strategy. Michel has done, I think, a fantastic job. Working with the regular strategy. I think it would have been quite an interesting race had both of them, both Simba and Michel, been on a medium hard or hard medium or some variation of that. It would be a very close fight. But Michel's pace has been quite excellent, must be said, throughout the race. Abhi in 3rd place with just a couple of laps to go, now under pressure from Gumb, and it seems that Abhi's tires are at the end of their life, so really struggling, and Gumb manages to make the pass. Gumb's mediums are, well, they are better, but they are also coming towards the end of their lifespan, it must be said. But they've got enough in their tires, and I think Abhi really will have to pit if they would want to avoid. I don't think it's possible to make 1.5 laps of this circuit on those tires. Dainos probably will be in a good position to pick up 4th place should that happen. Well, it most likely should happen anyway. Blade Runner in P6, Reuse in P7, Boyan in P8. Looks like Inorganics lost quite a bit of their tyre, and I think that might just be the end of that challenge. Nico in P10, having started from reverse grid pole. Sleepy P11 after, it must be said, not that great of a race. Jaden, well, they were looking good, but unfortunately a couple of spins did not help. P12, Papayani in P13, not the best outing, and Etan Jenna in the Merc, going to be finishing 1 lap down. So yeah, as we see, Dainos has already made the pass. Abhi definitely miscalculated. I think having or maybe overused or pushed the softs too far, having to pit 1 lap from the end. Gives 1 position, 2 positions up. Let's see how many more it will cost. Fairly expensive mistake, that one piece. Boyan's also going through, as is Inorganic. Inorganic might face some issues towards the end of the lap, but one would expect with the end of the race so near, it might not end up making a difference. Yeah, brutal pitting on the last lap from third all the way down to P9, and just I reckon that's just a miscalculation. Unfortunate, but learning. Well, wow, okay, that happened. Simba crosses the line, finishes in first place with Michel in P2. Fantastic drive from the pair of them, just head and shoulders above, I think it must be said, above the rest of the grid. Even Abhi, who even before pitting, Abhi was not really in the conversation for the top two. Those two were really in a league of their own around Barcelona. Gumb with making with a fantastic drive to P3, having made the pass on Abhi towards the end, pressing Abhi into pushing those tires possibly. Danos finishes P4, fantastic recovery, it must be said, from having disconnected in the sprint to starting last in the feature race. P4 must feel like quite a dream in this race. Blade Runner recovers after that spin to P5, Rius Beer P6, having stared at Villa car for most of this race. Boyan P7 in the AMG Merc. Inorganic with, I think, the longest hard stint of the race at 16 laps. Abhi at the wrong end of miscalculation, P9. And the man who started on reverse grid pole, having finished 10th in the sprint, also 10th in the feature. Nico in the other Aston finishes P10, Sleepy P11, and Jaden rounds out the top the race. P12, Papayani and Airtown Jenna finishing one lap down on the end. Abhi says wanted to go on mediums while switching controller, selected softs. Oh, that's really tough. Yeah, but it almost worked out as well, but yeah, it's unfortunate to make that mistake. I suppose is the learning to be gained from this. Always have a charged controller before the race. So yeah, let's have a quick look at the standings, the provisional standings from this race. Definitely a couple of incidents were reported, and we'll find out what happened next week with those. But so Simba leads the championship 39 points, winning the feature, second in the sprint. 6 points behind is Michel Beaumont. Again, another fantastic drive from the BRZ, in the BRZ rather, it must be said. Second and third. And those two are 10 points clear of third place. Rather, Michel is 10 points clear of third place. Abhi, despite the disappointing end to that race, finishing with 23 points. So, yeah, that's how things stand in the constructors. Ferrari with a big lead. Well, not all that big actually, now that I think about it. 62 points. Subaru guys in second, 52. The two Lamborghinis, I think, really will feel that they missed out with Danos's DNF in the opening race and IJF DNFing in the feature race. But despite that, third place for those two, 24 points. Porsche, the 911 Gumb in the solo 911 in fourth place, and Blade Runner in the solo Renault for tonight will be in fifth. And the Audi R8 in the hands of Jaden and Sleepy will be sixth. Well, there are three teams, the Audi, the Mercs and the Astons, all tied on sixth place. So quite an eventful, quite an interesting race. We see a couple of contenders who have come out for the title, both in the constructors and in the drivers. Let's see how it goes. Definitely, I think couple of guys who had the pace but didn't convert. I think the Huracans would be in that fight as well. So it's shaping up to be quite an interesting season. But yeah, that's the end of the stream for tonight. Thank you so much for watching, and until next week, bye bye.